The first sign was a phone call Mara almost let go to voicemail. A woman from the county title office, polite and slightly apologetic, asking if she still intended to list the property on Route 9. Mara said she didn't understand. She wasn't selling anything. The woman read back a name that wasn't hers, then read a signature date that was. Mara wrote it down on the back of an envelope and didn't call anyone that night. She just sat with it. The land had come from their father, 6 acres with a falling down barn and a slow, patient mortgage Mara had paid off over 11 years working nights at a distribution center. It wasn't valuable in any way that would impress a stranger. It was valuable in the way that a place is valuable when it's the only thing left that remembers your father's voice. Her sister Renata had wanted the land too, back when the will was read. Not because she loved it, because losing felt, to Renata, like a referendum on who their father had loved more. That resentment had never been spoken aloud in a way either of them could point to and resolve. It just sat between them at holidays, thin and cold like a draft under a door. Mara didn't confront her. She drove to the county office instead, in person, and asked to see the recorded deed. She compared it, line by line, to the copy she kept in a fireproof box at home, the one with the raised watermark seal from the original closing. The signatures didn't match. Not close. Whoever had done this hadn't even tried very hard, which told her something about how little they expected anyone to check. She made 2 certified copies. She told no one. At her mother's birthday dinner 3 weeks later, Renata was in a strange mood, bright, performative, watching Mara over the rim of her wine glass like she was waiting for something to land. She mentioned, too casually, that Dominic, her boyfriend, a man with a record longer than the guest list, was handling some legal stuff, and that things were finally going to work out. Mara passed the potatoes and said nothing. Not because she was calm, because she hadn't decided yet what calm would cost her, and she wasn't going to spend it on a dinner table. Later, alone in her car, she let herself feel it. Not rage exactly, but a kind of tired disbelief, the specific exhaustion of being underestimated by someone who'd known her whole life. Renata had never thought of her as someone who checked things, someone who kept records. That misjudgment, Mara understood now, was the only leverage she had, and she intended to keep it exactly where it was. Unspent, unannounced, until it mattered. It mattered on a Tuesday in March. She hadn't planned to attend the bail hearing. She'd gone because a court clerk she barely knew, an old classmate, had mentioned in passing that Dominic's hearing involved some land as collateral, and asked, half joking, if Mara happened to know anything about 6 acres on Route 9. Mara said she'd come take a look. The courtroom was smaller than she expected, fluorescent lit, smelling faintly of carpet cleaner. Renata sat near the front beside Dominic's attorney. Dressed like this was an occasion. When the bail request was read aloud, real property offered as surety, a parcel on Route 9, deed attached. Renata's mouth curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. It was the expression of someone who believed the hard part was already over. Mara sat 2 rows back, unremarkable. A woman in a gray coat nobody had reason to look at, twice. The judge, a heavy-set man with reading glasses pushed low on his nose, asked if the property owner was present to confirm the collateral. As a formality, the way you'd confirm a signature on a delivery. It was a routine question. Nobody expected an answer. Mara stood. She said she was the property owner. She said the deed submitted to the court was fraudulent, and she had the original with her, along with the certified county copy. She walked it forward and set it on the clerk's desk without raising her voice, without looking at her sister, because looking at her sister was not the point of this. The point was the document. The judge took his time. He set the 2 deeds side by side, adjusted his glasses, and compared the signatures under the desk lamp with the unhurried thoroughness of a man who had seen every kind of lie come through his courtroom and was not in a hurry to be impressed by a new one. He asked Mara 2 questions. How long she'd owned the property, whether she'd authorized anyone to use it as collateral. Her answers were short, 11 years. No, then he said, plainly without theater, that the collateral offered was fraudulent, that the bail request could not stand on a forged instrument, and that the matter of the forged signature would be referred separately. Bail, as proposed, was denied. That was all. No gavel-drop drama beyond the ordinary sound of a hearing ending. No raised voices. Just a small procedural sentence that undid weeks of someone else's planning. Mara looked at Renata then, once. Her sister's face had gone the particular pale of someone watching a plan collapse in real time, not with fury, but with the slow arithmetic of realizing there was no next move. She didn't cry. She didn't speak. She just sat very still, as if stillness might reverse what had already been said into the record. Mara didn't wait for a reaction. There wasn't going to be a satisfying one, and she'd stopped expecting the day to give her that. She gathered her folder and left the courtroom before the bailiff finished his notes, and she didn't feel triumphant in the parking lot. only tired in a way that had been building for weeks, and had finally been allowed to land. She drove out to the land that evening, the long way, past the barn that still needed a new roof. She stood at the edge of the field for a while in the cold, not thinking about her sister so much as thinking about her father, who had never once locked the gate, because he hadn't believed anyone in the family would need locking out. The land was hers again, cleanly, on paper. That much was settled. What wasn't settled, what she understood now would likely never be settled, was whatever had existed between her and Renata before any of this. That hadn't been decided by a judge. It had just gone quiet, the way things do when there's nothing left to say that either of you would believe.